Welcome to the Vegas Insider channel here on YouTube. Kevin Rogers with you alongside Kenny Ducey of the Action Network to break down the U.S. Open in Flushing, New York, coming up on Monday. And the final major of the year should be pretty exciting. And Kenny, before we get started, you'll be joining VI with a new tennis podcast?
That's correct. Yeah, every week we're going to be talking tennis at the top of the week, previewing the week's tournaments, giving some outright bets, some round one looks. Really excited about it. Should be a lot of fun.
And now looking ahead to the U.S. Open and the big story, Novak Djokovic, who won Wimbledon. He's not vaccinated. He will not participate in the U.S. Open. He was the favorite going in, but now since he's out, the guy he lost to last year, Daniil Medvedev, is the new favorite. Your thoughts on that?
Makes perfect sense. You know, he was around plus 225 before the Djokovic news came out. Now he's plus 200. Makes a lot of sense. He's the defending champion here. He's the most informed player in the world. I would say he's the best player in the draw right now. Of course, the Rafa fans would come after me and say, well, Rafael Nadal, look at all the Grand Slams he's won. He has hardly played since that injury at Wimbledon, so it remains to be seen how he's going to be at the U.S. Open. You know, we said that at the French Open this year, and he came out and won it. So, you know, we should stop doubting Rafael Nadal at this point, right? But I will say that in terms of, you know, who would definitely command being the favorite, I think it has to be Medvedev. Just hard courts. He's the best hard court player in the world right now, not named Novak Djokovic. Djokovic isn't here. So I think he's definitely a deserving favorite.
So Medvedev right now at 2-1. You have Rafael Nadal in the mix. And also a guy we talked about a lot on these videos, Kenny, has been Carlos Alcaraz. And if he can finally win one of these majors, and Alcaraz right now at 4-1, what do you think he can do here in New York?
I don't know if he can do too much, Kevin. It's a tough draw for Alcaraz. That is the biggest story to me to come out of the draw. He's got to face First of all, he might not face all of these guys, but Jannik Sinner on the other side of this quarter, that could be an epic quarterfinal, a tough one for him, given the fact that we've seen Jannik Sinner now beat Carlos Alcaraz, sort of establish a rivalry there. But you've also got Hubert Hurkacz in this quarter. You've got Borna Coric, who just won the Cincinnati Masters a week ago, had an epic run, right? Just played outstanding tennis, looked like one of the best players in the world again. So, I mean, look, Alcaraz, we've gotten excited about him winning a Grand Slam pretty much all year. Even there was a little bit of palpable buzz at Wimbledon when he won a few matches, but he was one of the favorites at the French Open. You know, look, he's flopped. He's flopped a few times this year in the Grand Slams. Doesn't mean the kid won't win upwards of 10 to 15 Grand Slams in his career. But, you know, I just think that when you look at Indian Wells and Miami, and there was so much excitement, right? He was clearly the best player in the world. Now it's hard to say that, right? Because he doesn't seem to have the stamina. He lost a match he really should have won against Cam Norrie in Cincinnati. And that Cincinnati run sort of came out of nowhere as well. I don't think people really expected him to be a player, just given the fact that he hasn't won a ton of matches over the last couple of months. So the spring Alcaraz, right? I think we would be like, oh yeah, he's got to be the favorite here. You know, what has Daniil Medvedev got to say about that? But this version of Carlos Alcaraz, who's, you know, kind of now he's established, he's sort of plateaued a little bit. I'm not quite sure, there's as much excitement. You know, that said, he did beat Stefanos Tsitsipas here last year. He did have a nice run, so maybe the familiarity with the Billie Jean King National Tennis Center and the event, maybe he puts in a good showing. But, you know, look, I don't think that there are too many players better than Alcaraz right now, but I'd still question whether or not he can win a Grand Slam at this young age, given the fact that we just, we haven't seen it in best of 5 scenarios yet. And he just hasn't been, quite the same player that he was when he burst onto the scene earlier this year.
Kenny, in the last major, Novak Djokovic, he ended up beating Nick Kyrgios, and it was a very intense match. We saw Kyrgios with his personality and things get excited at times. Kyrgios is listed at 7-1. After he couldn't get past Djokovic, he doesn't have to worry about that this time around. But what are your thoughts on Kyrgios maybe winning this tournament?
I like Kyrgios to win this tournament quite a bit. You know, Daniil Medvedev has lost to Nick Kyrgios multiple times now, both in Washington, D.C. I mean, Nick Kyrgios served and volleyed. Daniil Medvedev, something that not a lot of players have done. Medvedev loves to take the deep return position. Kyrgios doesn't love to serve and volley, but he just hit short volleys, made Medvedev chase the ball to the net and beat him quite easily. So, look, I think that is all the proof you need right there. They almost went 5 sets in Australia, and, really a Nick Kyrgios shank away from going 5 at the Australian Open, a tournament where Kyrgios really had no preparation, no form, wasn't in shape. This Nick Kyrgios is one of the best version we've ever seen of Nick Kyrgios. He's definitely put in the fitness or the work off the court, rather. He's got the match fitness. He's gone deep in a lot of these tournaments, including a Grand Slam. And I talk about Medvedev because, I really do think that when you want to pit Kyrgios against any player in the draw, I think that the only player that you could say for sure probably doesn't, at least roll over is Rafael Nadal. I think that that's the toughest test for Kyrgios. But you want to talk about the favorite to win the U.S. Open? I think Kyrgios has proven that he can beat Daniil Medvedev, and I do think he can do it in best of 5, given the fact that we almost saw him do it earlier this year in worse shape. And I also, like I said, we've seen Kyrgios beat Nadal before. It hasn't happened in a while, but it has happened on hard courts, right? It has happened at a Grand Slam. It's not unfathomable given the fact that Nadal is not really in great match shape. You want to talk about those two guys? I think those are the only two guys in Nick Kyrgios' way. I mean, Nick Kyrgios is probably the third guy in Nick Kyrgios' way, right? But he's done an excellent job of really limiting the mental lapses that have done him in the past. And I mean, he could definitely go out and win this thing. Absolutely. I think that would be, would not surprise me.
On the women's side, Kenny, Emma Raducanu, she was the one that took home the singles title last year. And right now her odds are sitting at 16-1. She still has other players ahead of her. What do you think about Emma repeating this time around?
I don't like it. Look, she's only won, I think, 12 matches on tour this year. 12 matches all year long. That is to draw a comparison to the ATP. That's Benoit Paire numbers. She has not won a lot this year. And look, I mean, the scenario, or I guess the circumstances leading into Emma's run and winning last year were totally different. She came through qualifying. She won 3 qualifying matches. She, won a couple of matches to start the tournament over players that weren't as talented. She's got 5 or 6 wins. She's feeling good. She's feeling confident. She's got that unquantifiable momentum, right? And that is really what jettisoned her to the top of the women's game last year, because she had won all those matches. She builds the confidence. She had a nice Wimbledon. This is a completely different year for Emma. She has had a target on her back. She's been playing in all the big tournaments this year, has not been winning a lot of matches. I just think if you're going to win a Grand Slam, you got to have match wins under your belt. You have to have that winning feeling. And a lot of times players who are not that talented, who maybe win at the lower levels, they just, we talk about it. It's the proverbial, they just know how to win, right? And sometimes when you just haven't won a lot of matches, you forget how to win. And I really do think that, look, Emma Raducanu went and beat 2 mothers in Cincinnati, and Serena Williams and Victoria Azarenka. Good for you. But, this is going to be a tough test to beat some of the best women in the world, especially given the parity now we have on WTA Tour. I do not see it happening for Emma here. She is a very exciting young talent. And to also throw another factor in here, she needs to win some matches here, or she may drop right out of the top 100. We might not see her again for a little while. So she needs to win some matches here to at least keep her ranking elevated enough where she can play a lot of the big tournaments during the regular season. But so there's a lot of pressure on her, and that might add to the fact that maybe she doesn't get it done this year in Queens. I think there's a lot of exciting names that are just a little bit better, have a little bit more momentum than her.
What about Iga Swiatek? She's at 3-1. She's the favorite to win this tournament. How do you see her winning the U.S. Open?
Well, that's another player that, again, it's sort of like Alcaraz, where if you would have asked me, 4 months ago, hey, Iga Swiatek, like, is this a smart bet to make for the U.S. Open? I would have told you, yeah, absolutely. She's the best player in the world. No one's even close. That is such a different sentiment now. She has lost some matches, and that is just something that we did not see happen to Iga Swiatek, right? She was not losing at all. Now all of a sudden, she's dropping matches to Caroline Garcia and just players that you wouldn't expect her to lose to as the top player in the world. So I don't think the confidence is gone, but I do think that maybe that Nadal, esque sort of aura, that she had about her, where it was like impossible to beat her. She had that long winning streak. That's sort of gone. So I think now when you look at the odds, I think you take advantage of that, because plus 350 is, I don't think, the fair price on Iga Swiatek. And because Iga Swiatek is such a big favorite, it opens up the door for you to bet a Coco Gauff at a plus 1,200, because even though she's the 3rd likeliest player to win, the fact that Swiatek is priced the way she is, this is very reminiscent Novak Djokovic from years prior, right? Because Djokovic, Nadal at the French Open, these guys were minus 110. And even if you had the third best odds, you were still sitting outside of plus 1,000. So I think that you don't bet on Swiatek here. I don't think that she's going to have 2 weeks of great tennis in her, just given the fact that we've seen her losing and sort of fall out of form. So that is definitely going to make for a very interesting women's draw.
Kenny, who are your winners on the men's side and on the ladies' side?
Well, there can only be one winner on the men's side. Look, if I have to pick a winner here, it has to be Daniil Medvedev. But what I will say is, if you don't want to just lay down on Daniil Medvedev, which might be a risky proposition given the fact that he, hasn't had an amazing month leading into the U.S. Open, Taylor Fritz is a very good bet to make. He's sitting you could still get him around maybe plus 2,500. He's got a great draw. He should manage to reach the quarterfinal stage with some ease. And he's in the Stefanos Tsitsipas quarter, and I think that is the quarter you want to attack on the men's side. Matteo Berrettini also in that quarter, plus 2,800. I don't know if you remember, but he made the semifinals at the Australian Open, won 4 sets with Rafael Nadal, and he has been one of the best players on tour in these Grand Slams over the last 2 years. So that's a very good price on him, and I think he's in the right quarter. But I will probably say Medvedev wins. I want to pick Coco Gauff on the women's side. I don't need to give you a value pick because I still think she's a pretty valuable pick here at plus 1,200. She's playing some excellent tennis right now. She bounced out of the first round in Cincinnati. She had to retire. That was unfortunate, but a few wins in Toronto. She really has looked like one of the 5 best players on tour right now. Has already racked up 30 wins this season, has gotten it done over a career on hard courts. I think that they help her serve and her big power game. So I think there are really not that many options better than Coco Gauff right now. She's going to have overwhelming crowd support. Everyone's going to be flocking. They're going to have to flock to someone because Leylah Fernandez hasn't played great this year. Neither has Emma Raducanu. I think all the support in the world is going to go to Coco Gauff at Arthur Ashe Stadium. So I think that she's going to pull it out because, frankly, Simona Halep has some holes in her game. We've seen Iga Swiatek lose. Arina Sabalenka, pretty disastrous end to her week last week. And, a lot of these other names just haven't really won Grand Slams or haven't been near themselves, like Naomi Osaka, Ons Jabeur, Emma Raducanu. Coco Gauff, I think, is the name you want to look out for.
Kenny Ducey of the Action Network does a great job covering the tennis circuit. Kenny, before we let you go, again, plug the new podcast for VI.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We're starting up for the U.S. Open. It'll be out on Monday. Weekly look every Monday on the week ahead in tennis. We'll just, give some future bets, some round 1 looks, and we'll also talk about, what just happened, if there were significant developments. But we can, spend that time to track futures odds as they shift, and should be a good time. So looking forward to it every Monday. It'll be just me, and we'll talk some tennis. It'll be great. We'll hit some winners.
Kenny Ducey of the Action Network. Kenny, thank you so much for the time. We'll talk to you soon.
Good to be here, Kevin.
That is Kenny Ducey. I am Kevin Rogers. Thanks a lot for watching. And as always, best of luck with your bets.